Async Python functions don't have to break your synchronous workflows. We'll use DSPy's context manager to automatically convert an async weather function into a sync-callable tool, letting you keep simple tool syntax while the framework handles the async execution behind the scenes.
Import Asyncio. Import DSPy. Async def async weather city, SDR. Get weather information asynchronously. Await Asyncio sleep 0, 1. Return F, the weather in city is sunny. Tool equals DSPy, tool async weather. Hash enable async to sync conversion. With DSPy, context, allow tool async sync conversion equals true. Hash now you can use call on async tools. Result equals tool, city equals New York. Print result.
This demonstrates DSPy's async-to-sync conversion pattern for individual tool functions. The code shows how an async function can be wrapped in a DSPy tool and called synchronously when the allow tool async sync conversion context is active. The key aspect is the temporary adaptation of execution behavior for a specific async function. The pattern works through a scoped context manager that modifies how the tool is invoked. Within the context block, the framework automatically handles the async await mechanics when the tool is called using synchronous syntax, while the underlying function remains unchanged. This creates a clean boundary between the tool's async implementation and its synchronous usage in this specific context. This approach enables targeted interoperability between async and sync code paths. When you need to call an async tool from synchronous code, the context manager provides a controlled way to bridge the execution models for that particular operation. The explicit scoping ensures the conversion behavior is predictable and limited to only the wrapped code block. Let's break it down line by line.
Import Asyncio.
Imports Asyncio, Python's built-in library for writing concurrent code using async await syntax. This enables the non-blocking delay we'll use in the weather function to simulate async I/O.
Import DSPy.
Imports the DSPy library, which provides the tool class used later to wrap the async weather function for synchronous style calling. This is the foundational import needed before creating DSPy tools.
Async def async weather city, SDR.
This defines an async function named async weather that takes a city name and returns a weather string. The async def syntax enables non-blocking execution, while the type hints document the expected string input and output for tool conversion.
Get weather information asynchronously.
This docstring documents the function's purpose, which DSPy uses to generate tool metadata. It's required for proper tool registration in the framework.
Await Asyncio sleep 0, 1.
This introduces artificial latency with Asyncio sleep 0, 1, simulating a real async operation like an API call. The pause forces the coroutine to yield control, demonstrating proper non-blocking behavior in the weather function.
Return F, the weather in city is sunny.
This constructs a mock weather response using the provided city parameter. The F-string dynamically embeds the city name into the return value, simulating an async API response for demonstration purposes.
Tool equals DSPy, tool async weather.
This wraps the async weather function in DSPy's tool class, enabling the sync style call pattern demonstrated in the following context block. The wrapper preserves the original async implementation while allowing tool city equals New York to work without explicit await syntax.
Hash enable async to sync conversion. With DSPy, context, Allow tool async sync conversion equals true.
This creates a temporary context where async functions can be called synchronously. The allow tool async sync conversion equals true setting enables the direct tool New York call below, which would normally require a wait for an async function. The effect is strictly scoped to this with block.
Hash now you can use call on async tools. Result equals tool, city equals New York.
The context manager enables synchronous calling of the async tool. Here tool, city equals New York, invokes the async function without a wait, returning the weather string directly. This demonstrates a sync-to-sync conversion in action.
Print result.
Outputs the result of the synchronous tool call to the console. This simple print verifies that tool, city equals New York, successfully executed and returned the expected string without requiring explicit async await syntax. DSPy async sync bridging. The context manager with allow tool async sync conversion equals true creates a temporary bridge between async and sync execution, letting you call tool city equals New York directly on an async function. This conversion is local to the context block and doesn't modify the original async function's behavior. The pattern maintains clean separation while enabling sync-style calls to async tools when needed.
The await that never pauses completes before the call begins.